there. I'm Shawna Robins, founder and CEO of Third Spark. And today I have the pleasure of doing an interview with Josie Santi. And she is a wellness expert and host of the Everygirl Podcast, which reaches millions of millennial and Gen Z women, especially many of those who are transitioning through perimenopause and menopause. Today, we are going to talk about tips for women in midlife on beating burnout. Hi, Josie. Nice to meet you. And thanks for joining me.
Hi, Shawna. It is my pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm excited to have this conversation with you. So first, can we just get a really clear concept and definition of what burnout is? Because I think so many women don't even realize when they're in it,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
Can you just define it for us?
Yes, I would love to. And I love this question because it really is such a common, overlooked phenomenon. It's something like I would say we are in a burnout epidemic right now, and it's not being addressed. It's not a lot of times even being acknowledged. So I think knowing exactly what it is, how it's happening is so crucial because we are having all these health issues and thinking, what's wrong with me? Or we're feeling so unhappy, or we are constantly feeling stressed, or we have all of these symptoms that really, at the end of the day, come down to burnout. And I'm like tired of women feeling like something is wrong with them when in reality, it's the culture that's wrong, not them. So I love this question for what burnout really is. There's kind of like two components that really they kind of are one and the same, but they're easier to suss out as two separate things. So the first one being that physical effect, like burnout is a physical response from your body. Yes, we think of stress in a very mental way. You might mentally experience stress, but it's also a very real physical thing. I know we talk a lot about the fight or flight response. People are probably very familiar with that, where your body is trained to react when it experiences stress physically. So it's a physical response that's going on in your body. Our bodies are not evolved to constantly deal with stress, which is the world that we're in. Is like it's one thing after the other. It's like we're have this meeting coming up, and then this person's trying to get hold of us, and then we're sitting in traffic, and then we're thinking about this thing that we have ahead, and then we're watching a scary movie. And it's like we're constantly bombarded by stress 24/7. What that is doing in our body is our body is thinking, okay, we're constantly in danger. We're constantly having to run away from a tiger. So over time, that is going to deplete us to the point of physical exhaustion where our adrenal glands, our stress hormones, our thyroid function, like it starts affecting our physical body when we are constantly in fight or flight mode. So that's kind of one physical aspect of it. And then I think the other definition of burnout, I would say, is really emotional and for a lot of people very spiritual. It's this like really lack of deep soul connection, whether that's in community, whether that's in purpose, doing things all day, every day that feel meaningless or that don't feel enjoyable, not having pleasure and joy in your life will cause you to feel burnout. I'm a huge believer that as human beings, we are meant to feel joy and pleasure all day, every day in our lives.
Mm.
And most of us rarely ever feel joy, pleasure, play, these really crucial human experiences. And I believe that a huge reason so many of us are dealing with burnout, it's not just the stress factor, it's also not having that release through joy and laughter and fun and deep human connection. So that's kind of like the two pieces that I go to define what burnout is. And then, like I said before, it shows up in so many different physical and mental symptoms for sure.
Mm. So, if a woman's listening to this right now or reading this interview, what are some things that you would recommend? I mean, first, obviously, like you said, is recognizing that you're in a state of burnout, right? I think a lot of us are just really detached from our physical symptoms of it. We maybe don't see that they correlate, like my hair's falling out, or like I said before we started the interview, like my sleep is impacted, or my weight has changed, or my mental state has changed. Maybe they don't see that as burnout. So I like that you connected the dots for them. So where do we start with unwinding this extreme level of tension and stress that we are all living through right now?
Yes, that's the million dollar question, right? Is like,
Right.
how do we stop feeling
Right.
so gosh darn stressed?
Mm.
There's a few places that I would start. The first, as you mentioned, is really the acknowledgement. And I guess not even kind of to take a step further, not even just acknowledging, oh my gosh, I'm stressed, because I think we all acknowledge that. It's acknowledging that life doesn't have to be this way. I
Mm,
like to say that busyness does not have to equal stress. We're really programmed to think, if I have a really full schedule, if I have a very long to-do list, that's going to make me stressed. Of course, I'm stressed. And like, yes, that is objectively a stressful thing, but we can shift our stress baseline so that we can look at a really busy schedule and it doesn't have that physical response in our bodies. We can look at a long to-do list and not have a physical response that causes us to reach burnout. So it's kind of like separating, and I talk a lot about this. I think I could go on forever about the physical way we can do this, how we can raise our stress threshold, and the mental, but kind of the way to start with that is really reminding yourself all the time, excuse me, I am safe. Like in my body, I am safe. Like what I do to myself all the time is when I have a day where I'm like, oh my God, there's so many meetings. When am I going to get to this? I have this long to-do list. I notice my body having that reaction, where our shoulders get tense and our heartbeat kind of speeds up and you start going into that stress spiral, and telling yourself, I am totally safe. Like my life is not in danger. I'm okay. And yes, you can still have a lot going on and maybe feel a little bit of that overwhelm. But what that's doing is it's training your body to not correlate a busy schedule with that fight or flight response where your body literally thinks it's in danger. So
mm,
starting to train your body to feel safe in your current routine is really possible. No matter how busy you are, you can train your body to still feel safe in that routine. So that's kind of like step number one. Step number two, I would say, is audit your energy. This is such a huge piece of it that I don't think we're really aware of how often we're draining our energy without expecting, any amount of reinvestment in return.
mm,
Like our stress levels are, I like to say, they're like a piggy bank where we cannot just keep spending and spending and spending, because we will run out. We don't have this infinite amount. We have a finite amount of energy. And so you have to think of it like you think of your bank account. You have to invest and save in order to have the amount of energy that you need to spend. So what I say when I say an energy audit is really starting to look at your life of, what is every little thing I do every day? Is this draining my energy or is this investing in my energy? I, for example, look at my workout routines. I look at my time with friends, my time with my fiance as investments in my career, because
mm.
that is how I reinvest my energy in order to show up in my career with the energy that I need to. If we are draining our energy where we are, unable to kind of feel like we don't have time to get to the workout, or we're too tired to see our friends, or that's draining your energy. You are working at a minimal basis. Like it's, another way to think of burnout is when your bank account is at $5 and you're constantly just like trying to get $5 back in order to spend it again, or your phone charger when it's in, at 5% mode and you're just charging it a little bit here and there, but it's not really charging it, and then it's running slowly, it's not working. So we really have to be aware of energy management and being able to set those energetic boundaries. It's not just about time boundaries. It's like, is this going to drain my energy? Even if I have time for it, if it's draining my energy, it's not worth it to me.
Mm.
So being really aware of our energy management is going to be the most crucial thing, I would say, to get ourselves out of burnout and just to live our life as fully as possible and as happily as possible. And then the last one I would say is joy, laughter, having fun with our friends, having those deep soul connections in our communities. I think often when we talk about stress, we really think of like the peaceful meditation and having me time. And those things are obviously super important. But what I have found and what research shows, more than peace and meditation and stress relief, the more important factor is having deep community. So investing in relationships and having those times. I was someone who for many years was like, oh, I don't really have a lot of time to spend with my friends. I'm going to see them maybe like every couple of weeks. They understand, so it's okay. I realized that that was bad for my health, my career, because I wasn't investing in my energy the way I needed to. So now I look at my time with the people I love as the most important thing in order to show up for my career, show up the way that I need to. If you're a mom, that's how you show up the best as a mother. So really investing in joy and laughter and that feeling of fun where you just like forget the time is passing and you just have so much fun. That is truly the better counter for burnout than even kind of that peaceful meditation, relaxation state. Again, both are so crucial, but I think we don't give enough credit to having fun and the role that joy and laughter should play in our lives.
Okay, so I can't tell you how happy this conversation makes me because I'm older than you, right? I'm 53. And so I've already started, I went through perimenopause, started through menopause, and I talked to so many women in my age range between 45 and 55 who literally have no skill set of what you just laid out. Are you there? Did I lose you? We have a frozen. Ah, there you are.
Oh, here we go. Here we're back.
Perfect. Was I frozen too?
Yes, you were frozen too. I was just about to comment of like, I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
There's some issue with technology.
Yeah, no worries. It's fine. It's all good. But what I was saying was I can't describe to you how exciting this is for me to have this conversation with you. I'm older than you. I'm 53. And so the women that I work with between the ages of 45 and 55 literally have none of what you just said as a skill set, right? It's like, it's not in our whole, Gen X. We were the super women. We were raised to do absolutely everything. We could have it all. That was the lie that we were told, that we bought. And like I always say, yeah, you can have it all. You just can't have it all at the same time, And so we're now learning what is now so inherent to you and your generation. And I'm so happy. That gives me such joy to hear you say all these things, because the earlier women can learn to do exactly what you just said, to bank their energy, to focus on joy and friendship and commitment, to reinvest back into the things that fill them up and not just constantly overgive because they feel like they have to all the time. These are powerful, powerful messages for women, especially younger women, to hear. So I really, really appreciate you diving into this, because so many women they just have no idea. And then once their parents get sick and they're sandwiched between raising children and caretaking and working, it's an impossible task. And burnout is, 100% of the time. So yeah. So what else, what other advice do you have? I mean, do you have any nutritional advice? Do you have any other advice for women besides these three things that you mentioned?
Oh my God, I have endless supply.
Good. Lay it on me. I want to hear it.
What I would say too, especially bring up the conversation of nutrition and well-being. And, my background, I was really trained, I went to nutrition school. I have a background in maybe a more, I guess, traditional sense of physical health. Mm-hmm. What I like to say is, especially when we talk about well-being, the only purpose of it is to make us feel good, is to help us enjoy life more. And so it's especially interesting for me to kind of witness what's happening in our culture. I feel like almost what every generation is dealing with wellness as burnout. We're being taught you need the 10-step nighttime routine, you need the perfect meal, you have to have this kind of exercise routine. And I'm like, I'm exhausted. We're like, aren't we all so tired of hearing, oh my God, another thing that we have to do. And so we've really like lost the plot when it comes to wellness, because everything from our fitness routine to how we're eating is supposed to help us enjoy life more. That is the only reason. And so when we talk about burnout, wellness and the way that so many people define it, everywhere from what I'm saying on, TikTok and health influencers to even just kind of like how our culture understands wellness, it's adding to burnout instead of being an antidote for it. So I think it's really important to, as you're trying to add in routines that help you, and everyone's at different stages. Some people listening or reading this may love their health routine and they have it down pat. Some people are like, I'm just trying to fit in a vegetable every few days. Wherever you are, I think it's so crucial to remember that the point of wellness is to make you feel good, like physically feel happier and enjoy your life more. So that doesn't mean, necessarily that like, oh, well, I don't enjoy a salad, so screw it, I'm going to have mac and cheese every meal. Obviously, totally fine to do that on occasion. I for sure do that too. But what that means is that your meal should add pleasure and also be that thing that makes you feel good. If I have mac and cheese, I'm going to enjoy it and love it, but then afterwards, you're really going to feel like sluggish and tired. And I'm like, oh, I'm not really motivated. I don't want to do anything. So it's finding that balance of having meals that are not these bland, boring things and also are not investments in your overall well-being and energy and joy. It's like these meals that can be full of foods that help your body feel amazing and also taste amazing while you eat it, or these workout routines that, give you energy and light you up and excite you. I say the best workout routine is going to be something like maybe a fun dance class or going for a walk outside or hiking, or maybe it is like a fun workout class that you're working your muscles, but it's to fun music and you're having fun with your friends. Like that is the best workout routine for you. The one that's like, okay, this is what they said was going to help me lose weight, but oh my God, I hate it and I dread it every day. That is not going to be good for you. And also, what's the point? Like we have lost the plot. So, especially in this conversation about burnout, I think it's really important to also bring up this conversation of the wellness industry and our misunderstanding of wellness and how it's contributing to our burnout. So that's something I want to put out there for especially women who, we are the most ambitious, powerful freaking beings on earth, and we want to do everything. We want to be great at everything. So the reminder of if you're any habit in your life, whether it's your nighttime routine, whether it's what you're eating, whether it's your fitness, your skincare routine, whatever it is, if it is not actually helping you enjoy your life more, it is not the right routine for you. It is not doing the purpose that wellness is supposed to have. So, yeah, that's kind of another thing of like, how can we get out of burnout? What are those places where you're putting more pressure and fatigue and exhaustion on yourself that don't actually need to be there? And I would say for a lot of people, that is their wellness routines.
It's so true. It's so true. People get so stressed out by what type of magnesium they should take or what type of sleep mattress they need to have, or, it's, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure, especially with sleep, you see that all the time because
I
people
do.
are like, okay, I have to have everything
Yes.
exactly right. And it's like, that's just going to make your sleep worse if you're
That's
stressed
right.
about it.
That's right. That's right. So let's circle back to connecting with one another, because I really like that you brought that up. Women are biologically wired to be tribal.
Yeah.
And we've gotten away from that, right? And so I think coming back to that wisdom that we have of needing community. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Yes. Yes. This is honestly my favorite field of study, my favorite research, because I think it feels maybe a little cliche or surface level to be like, oh yeah, you need relationships and that's part of your health. And you're kind of like, okay, sure. But there is so much research that shows how our relationships are the most important factor, more than diet, more than exercise, more than even sleep in a lot of cases. Sorry,
No,
that it's,
yeah,
I'm sure
I
you
get it.
that, but yeah.
They all are symbiotic.
They're all symbiotic, right?
Yeah.
They're all important pieces of the puzzle, but I really emphasize relationships because we're so used to seeing it as such a separate piece of like having a good community is almost like a bonus if we get everything right. And I'm trying to really flip that switch where our community and our well-being in our relationships should be the most important factor. One of my favorite studies, it's called there's now something called the Rosetto effect that came out of this study, but it basically was studying this like really small town in Pennsylvania where they ate a standard American diet. They had very low rates of movement. So it's not like this community was especially healthy in any way. They ate fried foods and they had increasingly, like incredibly low rates of obesity, heart disease, all of these factors of researchers who were studying kind of American health. And so researchers went in to look at what was the factor. Like they're eating the same things, they're not moving a lot. It's not like their healthcare is any different. What is the basis? And of course, what they found was that they had, for many reasons, an extreme levels of connection and community built into their everyday life. So I like to put in these studies, and I have so many more that I like to talk about, but because I think it's really easy for us to hear this advice and think, okay, sure, right, I should prioritize my relationships. But when we know based on research that it is the number one factor, it becomes a lot more of like, oh, hanging out with my friends is not this selfish thing or this thing that I do when I have time. It is the biggest,
Mhm.
most important factor of your life that you need to pay attention to. choosing your life partner, if you are someone who wants to be in a relationship, wants to get married or have a long-term spouse, that is the most important factor you will make for your health. So it also for your success in your career, really is like whatever your motivation is in life, our relationships are the key to get there. And we are living in a loneliness epidemic like that. It's not a secret how social media, so many different factors are contributing to our isolation. And in a world that really showcases and defines wellness as isolating, you think of wellness as being, it's all about me time. It's like that's what I'm doing at night. I have to get home from the bars in order to do my nighttime routine, or I can't go to the dinner with my friends because they don't have any food I want to eat. That's how we are defining wellness. And we're missing the biggest piece of the puzzle. So I would say, especially knowing that we're in this loneliness epidemic, where I would say most people, I have yet to talk to anybody who feels, yep, I feel fully satisfied with my social life. I feel in a good place with all my relationships. I think we all, to some degree, feel either lonely or feel like our relationships could be better, or we need more friends, or we need better friends. Like we are all, I think, needing something different. I think it's really a crucial moment in time to prioritize that. And when I say prioritize it, it's not just having the kind of entertainment friendships, which, are really fun too. And those are the people that you want to just have dinner with and go have fun with. Like those are really important. But what research really shows is the key to getting over that loneliness feeling is not just the entertainment friendships, but having almost like the friendships that you can depend on, the people that obviously you can call if something goes wrong. I kind of like to think of it as like the cup of sugar neighbor, where it's like, oh, you can drop in if you need to borrow something from them, if you need help in some way, if you need someone to pick up your kids because you're in a pinch. That is what research shows is like those are the important relationships that help you ease that loneliness feeling. And so I kind of also want to encourage people to find these like consistent communities. It's not just the people that on Friday night you might want to go out with, although those are super important too. But it's maybe like, who are the people that you might want to go on a walk with after work? Or who are the people that, it's kind of like we talk about the third places of having this place that it's not work and at school, that is this community for you. And so that might look like for a lot of people, it's a spiritual community. For a lot of people, maybe that is like a gym or a yoga studio where you can go on a regular basis just to see people and each other. These are crucial parts of your happiness, but also your physical well-being. And I think we're so isolated, we're looking at our social lives really wrong. And so I hope that people, invest more in having communities and relationships that really feel fulfilling and connected to them instead of these more like surface level
Yeah.
connections and settling for that.
Right. Yeah, because being able to be vulnerable with somebody, being able to be authentic with somebody, that's where your body feels calm, feels safe, feels
Yeah,
seen, feels supported, and you can make your way through burnout in an easier way. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, 100%.
Amazing. Thank you for joining me today, Josie. It was so nice to meet you. I
Hey,
appreciate
Shawna.
everything that you shared. And I know that women are going to just have so many important takeaways from this conversation. So I appreciate your time.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad and honored again. Thank you so much for having me. And I think more women need to hear this advice instead of a lot of the advice out there. So I really appreciate you kind of giving this to your audience. I think it's such an important conversation. So thank you for having me.
It was my pleasure.